Good afternoon, all. Steve Parisi here with IBC Global. Hope your day is off to a great start. We have a special guest here, back for the second time, Dr. Ace. How are you, my friend?
I'm great. Yeah.
Good.
Drugs have kicked in.
It's the nice weather behind you.
Exactly. We do have a sunny day in the Northwest, though, so it's good.
Gotcha. Up in Washington, correct? Washington State's where you live.
Olympia, Washington, the state capital, south of Seattle, about an hour.
Got it. I'm on the other side over in Poconos, Pennsylvania, but
yes,
it's sunny here too.
Beautiful.
Very nice. Well, what we want to talk about today is something that I've seen you do extremely well with your clients and for other business owners as well, which you describe it as financial freedom, right? That's a term that's used quite a bit, but let's brand this today as Dr. Ace's Guide to Financial Freedom. And you've got a lot of good case studies with respect to yourself and your clients. So you coach endodontists. You've also got some books out there for dentists as well. How to really increase revenue within their practice so they're generating more revenue, and then what to do as far as steps with paying off your debt, then where to put your money with different investments, whether it's cash value life insurance, dividend paying stocks. I'll let you get into that. But what I will say, just from working with you for a number of years now, is I have seen a big difference really as a group with your clients compared to other people we work with. As a whole group, I've worked with a lot of people that are your clients. They're all very well off financially. They've worked themselves out of debt that they've been in. But for the most part, too, they don't have much stress. And when I talk to them, they're just typically in a good mood. Hopefully that makes sense. But I've noticed that really as a group. So what I want to talk about today is really the process that you'll take your clients through, because it applies really to most business owners out there and anyone as an individual too, just when we study personal finance, and we can have a conversation on it. Hopefully everyone viewing this can get some value out of it and apply something if it's a fit for them personally.
No, I think that's great. The reason I talk about financial freedom is just get people's attention. What I truly want is for them to just have choices and peace in their life. It's about living life, free and peace. And money's an issue of it. And most people just do stupid things with money. I'm an expert because I'm a doctor, which means I've made more financial mistakes than any of your clients will ever do. But I hopefully have learned from them. And I want to share with them. I think in this little short podcast, I can give them the secret, the best things you can do with your money, of course, besides partying and stuff like that, that can help you get to a place where you can be extremely wealthy. So it doesn't take much.
Yeah, and sharing your experiences, I appreciate that. Experiences are one of in my opinion, the best way to learn, seeing what others have done successfully and then where they've messed up. And if we don't view someone else's experiences or see where they've messed up, we're probably going to do it on our own. Like we're going to mess up ourselves. I've messed up more times than I can count, but I appreciate you sharing it all. So let's get on into it. I know you've got some visuals you'd like to share.
I'm going to go ahead and we'll kind of go through the visuals and go through a step-by-step plan.
Yeah.
To quickly make you 100% returning money guaranteed without risk right off the bat. And then from then on, once your debt is paid, what to do with your money. And so I'll go ahead and share my screen here.
I'll interject throughout it where I have questions.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. So this is about really creating financial freedom. And it starts off actually with learning how to make more money. I mean, understanding that where do we find money? Now, I'm going to talk about some of the books I've written, some of the books that you're able to just download for free that will tell you exactly where to find the money, how to expand your money. I think a lot of people, the clients that I've coached, and of course, by the way, I've coached my entire dental team. Many of them are debt-free, which means they own their house, their car, everything. Many of them understand how to invest in the market now. I've kind of taken them through that process. But the thing is that we need to have mentors, and maybe through a study group that you might have, I would find people that you want to learn from, that are very good at what they do, that are doing what you, or maybe what you want to do, or doing what you're doing. And great ones will always want to share with you. Also, if you own a business and whatever, I would be looking around for someone that actually can coach you through the process to increase your business success. And I would, before I went into their coaching, I'd follow up with people they coached before to see if they're telling the truth anyway. Paying off all debts is the fastest way to become wealthy. I'll just tell you that right now. All my clients, what I do is I show them how to make more money, and I focus all their money on paying off debts, which means their house, their car, their business, everything. Normally, most people that I work with could be debt-free somewhere between, and they have a lot of debt, by the way, somewhere between 3 to 5 years. I mean, I'm talking millions. So it's just changing their business strategies and the way they run their business. Another thing is create your own personal bank. I like that because it protects your family, and it gives you a place for access for money anytime. And by the personal bank, we're talking about high cash value, whole life insurance, the 90-10 model that I learned from Steve. That's why I send a lot of people to Steve, because once they focus on their debt reduction, and actually sometimes you can even do it earlier. You can use part of your bank to pay off your debts and still make the same amount of money growing at the same time. And then learn to invest on your own. And that is like through a non-Schwab. I like Charles Schwab to invest in. I'm going to tell you probably the best way you can ever invest your money. It's simple. It beats the S&P 500. You never worry about the market going up or down. Matter of fact, you hope it goes down. And it's just the neatest way to invest, and we'll talk about that. And that's really actually through buying blue chip dividend paying stocks, the aristocrats that have paid dividends for the past 25 years. And I kind of use the IQT newsletter to guide me through that. But I just put together a new book. It's pretty long. It's like 42 pages. And it's everything you need to know about investing in this. I even give you the stocks that are probably a good way to start. You kind of start into it. Now, I'll talk about that a little later. And then a lot of times we're taught to fund the 401k. And if you basically are an owner and you have a 401k or a type of retirement plan, I would make it a Roth IRA or I discontinue it. And I used to have 401ks, defined benefit plan, and all I did was lose money because the people that took the money were the ones that were managing the plan and the brokers and advisors. So I'm not really big on them. You can learn to do this. Just read my 42 pages. That's all you need. And then really, once you have a game plan about how you're going to be financially free, once that's in place and you're on your path to units, you can live as if you're already free. And that's what I recommend you do. I mean, it's really paying attention to the important things in your life, your family. If you have to work more hours and whatever, I would probably wait a little longer to get that, as long as I have spent more time with my family. I've been married 53 years. I have 5 children, 13 grandchildren, and an incredible wife. And by the way, I always have the last word with her, and that is, yes, dear, you're always right. Try to remember that one. It will help. And so this is Will Rogers. And he says, the problem with America isn't so much what people don't know. The problem is what people think they know just isn't so. Those that use financial advisors, those that invest in mutual funds, basically they will be taking 25 to 70% of what you make in the market if you're doing investing. Now, I know some of you out there are involved in real estate. I think real estate is actually a very good place to invest as long as you understand real estate and you use that as a form of passive income. Dividend investing is a form of passive income. It's probably the easiest, and you never worry about the market as long as you're with great companies. Okay, so extremely wealthy people consistently do 6 things. Number 1, they eliminate debt very early because they understand that's the fastest way to become wealthy. And it's also it's your return on paying off debt is over 100% return. And I'll show you that. They spend their money wisely, getting maximum value for every dollar. They consistently increase both their active and their passive income. What I'm going to talk today about also, and Warren Buffett said this, if you don't find a way to make money while you're sleeping, you'll be working the rest of your life. And so, the personal bank is a way that money grows and actually, have the advantage of taking out money later, tax free, and it's growing and you'll be able to use it while you're sleeping. Dividend investing. It's like little cash machines that just give you money every month. Then also be an aggressive saver. And what I mean by saver is you look at what you really need to spend on, and then you basically use the set a certain amount to pay off, and I say debt. And you do that not through budgeting, which fools people because, well, I see how much budget can I spend toward debt. No, it's through automation, which means you'll take 20% of what you make every month and just focus on debt. It just goes right out of your bank. And I'll tell you what, I can guarantee you, you can take 20% of whatever you make and pay it toward debts, just like a tax, and you'll be broke at the end of the month, just like you are now, because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's automation. We'll just keep spending your money if we don't. Then another part, they learn to invest their own. They find a good strategies and stick with you. I will give you a strategy. I think it's the best I've found. And you need to do your homework on it, but I would be practicing on it. My little book kind of takes you through it step by step, and I'm going to recommend other books that I think you should start with. And they're very short books because I'm not much of a reader. Basically, you can listen to their audibles. They're a little bit more than an hour long, either book, and that's all you'll need. And then leave a legacy. I mean, what's so great about my clients is that once they're debt free, now when you're debt free, each one of you out there, I just want to remind you, right now, 2/3 of whatever you make in life is going to debt. When you become debt free, and most of you could be debt free in 5 to 7 years. Maybe some of you could be debt free in 3 years. So maybe some of you are debt free now. But once you're debt free, you'll have 3 times the amount of money to make a difference, whether it's investing, whether it's to teach your children, how to invest in the market and open up basically a Roth IRA for them, like I've done with all my children and grandchildren. And I'm teaching my grandchildren, yes, they're 8 or 9 years old, how to invest in the market. Mm-hmm. And go ahead. A question there, Steve?
Yeah. So 2/3 of your money goes towards debt. So your philosophy is pay the debt off early. If it takes anywhere 3 to 7 years, delay gratification, if you want to call it that. So you're not going to take money and go spend it. Instead, let's wipe all of our debt out. You're going to show us how to increase your income to do that. But then once the debt's paid off, now you have that additional 2/3, which you can put wherever you want and aggressively save if your goal is to save.
Right. And actually enjoy your life too, by the way. I mean, that means that you'll have like 70% or 65% of the money you make free. And because you're already living on 30% right now. And so I'll show you the power of that, but also learn how in your business, how to be much more profitable in your business. And it's not by cutting overhead. That's one thing. But basically, how to sell more of your product, how to be better at your product and whatever, and get a coach and not be afraid to pay that coach to learn that. Now, my program is like $72,000 for a year's coaching. They'll make an extra $500,000. Some will make $1 million just because I coached them. Yeah. And it's just, it has little to do with them. It's basically systems and things like that. So leave a legacy, and this is my legacy right now. Now I've created a website. Now people call me Ace. I've always gone by the name Ace, and I'm a doctor. So the website is called drace.com. It's a hard one to remember. And basically in the website, you'll look up here. I have videos that talk step by step how to get a debt, all the other stuff on, the financial mistakes people make, also the the things that people tell you that aren't true. And I did these a few years ago. I'm going to be updating, but they're still good today. You can download the audios and listen to them. There's also resources and handouts that is important. It has my books in it, and I'll show you that. It has a way of looking at investing in dividend stocks. It's just a step. Everything's free on the website. You could actually, I have a new book out that you can go and buy at Amazon. I'll show you that book, and I make $3 on it. So I'm cleaning up, and then basically, or you can just download it for free because it'll be all right. I can handle it $3. So we'll talk about that. But there's you hit the resources. This talks about how you can figure out exactly how much money is being spent toward interest on your house payments. And this is a seminar handout. There's some other things on that website. So this is what I want to tell you. And most people it's hard for them to believe it. But here's someone that's has a $360,000 house, 30-year mortgage, 3.34%. Now, if you look, and they're paying around $1,584 and just the basic payment of the house, not the interest or whatever. And you can see that this money, $584 of this money is paying off the house. That means the bank is getting $1,000 from you. Mm-hmm. They're getting 2/3 of that money, actually 3 times. So basically, this is not a 3% loan, right?
Yeah.
Once you understand this, it's a 172% loan. And if you'd like to make 172% return on your money, you pay another $584 towards your principal.
Got it. So are you going to walk through how you came to the 172?
Yeah, sure. Basically, it's real simple. Yeah. You divide 528 into, let me see, this is 528 divided into 1,000, it should come out 172.
Got it. Okay. Or is your total payment if you will go back?
Right. But also don't forget, you had to make probably $1,500, pay tax on it to pay the interest. Mm-hmm. So basically, it's like 3 times your money because you really saved $1,500 that you had to earn and pay tax on it. So you had $1,000 to give to the bank. Oh, by the way, how much interest are you making from the bank now? That's right, 0.
Yeah.
And so you're giving them every month. I mean, that kind of makes you feel good, doesn't it? Yeah. So you're giving them every month 3 times, $1,000 in interest. And so you can go to Dr. Calculator, go to the website, and it'll show you how to find out exactly, put your mortgage in as Dr. Calculator /Carl's Mortgage, and it shows you exactly how to figure it out.
Nice. Okay.
I want to cover, I could spend a long time on this whole process, but what I want to teach you or share with you is that I can make 172% return on my money by paying an extra $584 each month. Yeah. I could eliminate $1,000 I never have to give them. Mm-hmm. How long does it take you to make an extra $1,000?
Yeah. Right? If you go back here and wipe out the 172% that's on the screen, does this calculator show the total dollar amount you pay in interest to the bank?
Oh, absolutely. It does. This Dr. Calculator will show you down below exactly I can bring up Dr. Calculator and I could show you how we figured this out, but it'll show you how much interest. Usually over the period of 30 years, you're going to be paying a 50% average of interest. But the thing is if each one of you has the ability, if you really focused your money, you really thought about it, and you knew this was important, you would be able to pay your house off in 5 to 7 years. And I carry you step by step at the website how to do this step by step. I also carry it in my book. So you need to sit down with your significant other. The other one is the spender. Of course, you may be the spender, but once the spender knows that he's being ripped off, and he's paying, sometimes 200% return on your money. If it's a 6% loan, it could be 700% interest on that loan that year. So I cover that in my book. So by basically paying an extra 584, you just made 172%. Where are you going to do that in any of your assets? No place. This is the fastest way to become wealthy. This is my new book. It's called The New Wealth Paradigm for Financial Freedom. It's about 130 pages. You can go on, like I said, you can go to Amazon. It's on Amazon. I have an audio on it also. But what I would recommend is you just download the book and on my website, and or if you like a handbook, you can just go to Amazon. I get $3. So places to put your money. So right now, inflation's up to 7%. Isn't that great? The average has been around 3%. Okay. We have inflation. We increase taxes. All these things are going to be taking your money away. And so what we need to do is maximize our benefits and figure ways to eliminate how inflation affects us. Okay. And paying off debt. Once you're debt free, what does it really take to live on? This is where people put their money sometimes under the mattress. You get 0% return. Your bank checking account, 0% return. Now you can put it in the savings account in your bank, it gives 0.01% return. You put in a money market, the same. Short-term treasury bills, 0.2. I mean, there is nothing here. Now, fortunately, we have high cash value whole life insurance, which you might get 4 to 5% return, and which is a tax-free, which is great. That will beat inflation, the average inflation. So it is a good place to put your money. Dividend investing. Actually, if you invested in 2009 in dividend investing, you would have made over 17 to 18% return on your money.
Wow.
Which was pretty good.
Yeah.
Debt free. Remember, I just showed you how to make 100% return on your money just by paying off debt. Over a period of time, it's actually builds it up. And then I think invest in yourself. I mean, if you really have someone that you can, a program that will show you step by step, or someone that you can coach with. Now, sometimes, I mean, if someone came to me locally and asked me about this, I just sit down and share with him because it's my legacy. And I wouldn't charge him anything. I mean, the reason I charge the other dentists that amount of money is because I want them to pay attention to me.
Yeah.
If they're going to pay, they start listening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I know I think a lot of people chuckle at that, but there's some seriousness to that. I mean, if someone gives you free advice, you might listen to them if you know who they are, but if you pay them, you're definitely going to listen. I'm a big believer in investing in yourself, personal development, business development. It's the area, just as I look over the past 10 years of business, I've spent the most there. From a dollar standpoint and also a time standpoint. Specifically, like to give a quick example on time, is just the idea of communication and effectively communicating cash value life insurance or a complex topic in English. That's something that's always been a struggle of mine. So what I'll do with a lot of our videos, for example, is just reshoot them, take my time, make sure the point is emphasized, work on different tonality or different, how can I put this, adjust my tone as needed to emphasize different points. Just taking the time to really invest into myself and our company. We'll do it with all of our agents here to improve production. That's the point.
Right. No, that's good. Another thing I didn't mention here, but I think it's very important, is to get rid of your demons. I was raised by a single mom. My father left when I was 3. Actually, my mom got rid of him. He's really a cool guy, but he seemed to like to womanize a lot. Anyway, so I grew up thinking that I was the little boy at 3 years old that broke up their marriage. And so I had to prove that I wasn't as bad as I thought I was. The trouble is, you carry this through this. There's a lot of things that each of you carry that holds you back. Some of you are poverty mindset. You've been trained that way. And sometimes you're self-destructive on yourself, and you'll destroy things that when things go, this whole idea, well, if things are going great, then it has to go bad. Those are all encodings that you were trained by your parents. We have to find a way. And I actually recommend a couple places you could probably learn. It's in my book that can help you with those issues. That's one of the main things I have to work with my doctors on, is to realize that they're okay. And they can be open to abundance in their lives. And so it is letting go of the demons in your past. You were going to say something, Steve?
Yeah, kind of adjusting your mindset to say, hey, if I make this decision, it's gone bad or poorly for me in the past. I don't know about it. We hesitate and don't make a decision, whether it's investing in ourselves, paying for a mentor, whatever it might be. We don't make that decision out of fear, if we want to call it that.
Right.
Is that kind of what you're hitting on?
Sort of, but also a lot of us has been having codings from our family,
Okay.
past history, relationships, and basically a lot of them happened before we're 7 years old that we carry in our future. And so to really truly be at peace with you sometimes have to address those issues and let them go, because we can let emotional pain go and other things like that. Some people like, going through and, following different advices or books that help you address that issue. But I address a lot of that stuff in my book. So
Got it. Okay.
So inflation right now, in the past has averaged around 2.8%. Right now it's around 7%. So we have to really kind of figure out what we're going to do. By the way, I would highly recommend any business owners out there to raise your fees right now, because everyone else is raising their fees. A lot of times we don't raise our fees, but I would look locally what other people charge and stuff like that. I know there's certain limits, but it's okay. I give you permission. Anyway, this is another part of my resources. So if you have basically a brokerage account, you're using a broker or you're doing it yourself, I want you to go in, download this little Excel sheet, and then put in what you started with at the beginning of the year, and then how much you added, and follow that through for the past 6, 7, 8, maybe 10 years. You might be surprised if you would have just put it in the S&P 500. By the way, dividend investing does better if you know what you're doing than that. So I'll show you an example of that. This is my book. You can download that. This is my Safe Investing, the deal about understanding how to invest in dividend blue chip stocks. It'll carry you step by step. And I'll talk a little bit about that. But Warren Buffett always says, don't lose your money. And rule 2 is don't see rule 1. And so a lot of times we do stupid things with our money. Like here's an example of basically, this is one of my doctors. He started with he had kind of like a SEP IRA, so he could put around $15,000 a year in. So he had 7, 8, and he was working through a broker, and he put 7,800. The next year he put 1,400. Next year he put 1,500, and he watched it grow to basically from the year 2009 to 2021 to 292,000. Okay. Now, this calculates how much he made from his broker. Every time it's red, that means the broker lost money from him. Every time it's black, that's like this year he made, the broker made an extra versus the S&P $933. Okay. And so basically at the end of in 2021, he had lost a total of 145,000. You can download this and check and see how your broker did or how you did. And so he lost 145,000, and he felt bad about that. But I said, don't worry about that. Let me make you feel worse. I always like doing that. So basically I took the 145,000, put it in 8% like the S&P 500 over 30 years. And guess what? You really lost $1.6 million. Doesn't that make you feel better? What I wanted to make him sure he understood that he has to understand how you can invest on your own. And it's a fairly simple approach to doing that. Now, those that are in real estate, you understand that. I mean, those that are successful in real estate. But a lot of you, I think the best place to put your money besides first, remember, 100% return on your money guaranteed, is paying off debt. Once you're debt free, you focus on learning, I'd probably create a personal bank. And then I would also focus my money on learning slowly how to go into the market, open a Schwab account. It's very simple. I'm training my 8-year-old and my 14-year-old grandchildren how to do this. You can do this. And I carry you step by step on how to do that. Anyway, understanding brokers, mutual fund managers, and stuff like that. I just want to rely, they are salespeople. They will charge you 1 to 3% of your entire portfolio, even if you lose money. They will take 50 to 70% of your gains. They will continually buy and sell stocks, giving you more transaction fees, increased taxes. They will confuse you with terms like modern portfolio design, asset allocation, and you don't learn how to invest your own. They don't want you to learn. I mean, and lots of people do stupid things when you invest on your own. The key is if you don't know much about the market or whatever, and you have some money to put away, just put it in the S&P 500 index fund through Schwab and don't worry about it. Let it go. But the power of investing in dividends, it will give you a constant source of income for the rest of your life. And it doesn't matter if the market goes down. Your income will continually grow from those dividends. That's the power of dividend. And by the way, the S&P 500 does 96% better than these every year. Now, on the average, probably the S&P does better than all of them. So these are 3 books that I want you to read. They're very easy to read if you're interested in learning how to invest on your own. Dividend Growth Machine and Dividend Investing Made Easy by Crater. I really like this Dividend Growth Machine. And then you can download my book. It's 47 pages and basically how to create passive income for life. Because remember, if you can't make money while you sleep, you are going to work the rest of your life. What were you going to say?
Yeah, and so your book, is that primarily based off your experiences, what you've done and what you've learned just throughout life with dividend paying stocks?
No, I copied everything from these guys. But I put my own tone to it.
Right on. Very nice. Very nice.
No, I listened to a lot of books. I've been doing dividend investing for the past 4 years. I learned from another friend of mine who taught me. And so I basically get into the detail because I like detail. I want to know how to do it. I want to do it step by step. And because I'm a slow learner. And what I have to learn every step of the way so I can understand it, but it makes me actually a pretty good teacher. And so this book is exactly step by step. But I indulge yourself, learn in this. I even give you the stocks you should be looking at right now. Great companies that pay dividends. Now, this is a friend, Denny taught me this. This is Denny's retirement saga. Now, Denny was a root canal specialist, a good friend of mine. And he wanted to retire at age 50 and never work again. Okay. So at age 50, he retired. Now, Denny stopped working in May 2008. He was making around $60,000 in dividend, which wasn't much, but he had some other investments, other places that were bringing other money in. And what happened to his portfolio? I think his portfolio was probably about 1.5 million, 1.3 million, which is pretty good, debt free. I mean, you're in pretty good shape, right? But he knew he didn't want to use that money at all. That money will never actually take money away. He'll just live off the dividends. And so Denny, he had his debt paid off. He had his number he was making, and he was making $60,000 a year. Now, remember, if you're making $60,000 a year, if that's all you're making, there is no tax on your dividends. A couple has to be over 70,000. There is no tax. If you make up to 400, I think 50,000, it might be 500. It's in my book. But basically, it's only 15% tax when you're living on dividends. So the tax, another big deal is taxes. How do you eliminate taxes? Well, dividends help you do that. So remember what happened in 2008, the market dropped in half, right? So his portfolio pretty much dropped about 35 to 40%. The market dropped 50% in March 2009, right? Now, Denny knows you don't sell during this. This is the time you buy, okay? And when you have dividends, you don't care if the market drops in half because what happened to his dividends? Basically, they moved up to almost $80,000. Couple of reasons. These great companies increase dividends every year, especially with down markets. Secondly, he was able to buy some of these companies at half price, which means he got great dividends at half price.
great income vehicle. That's the whole
This
goal.
is all, I mean, you will never sell your stocks. These are great companies like 3M, T. Rowe Price, IBM. These are great companies that have paid dividends for almost, some of them over 60 years. And they've increased their dividends every year. So you're getting the same amount of money no matter if the stock's in half or not. And matter of fact, it will continue to go up. So we don't care if the market goes up. I'd like to see these stocks grow. That's great, but you don't care. And it's a mindset that most people just don't understand. So now he has lived on dividends. It means living on his dividends. And plus, you know, besides that, he still has his stocks. Now, basically, his number grew 5 times. So his maybe 1.5, might have been 2 million, might be 10 million now. And he never added more to it. He's added more to it because he uses some of his dividends to reinvest.
Got it.
But now, just think about this. He's never worked since. In this portfolio is now, he's getting $327,000 a year in dividends. And it has not worked since. And the deal is he has all income. And basically, he's lived off this, but he's used some of it to reinvest in the market and buy more. And he's never worked a day since. And he says he lives like a drunken sailor. He probably does, but his wife also has dividend investing. And basically, she was taught. He taught her how to do dividend investing. And so it's an interesting story. In 2000, they got actually both spouses died in the past, but basically, so they got together in 2014 or 13 and married. And when her husband died in 2012, she went to a broker and said, "Here's my money. Please invest it safely for me." Great. Okay. So Denny asked the broker in 2014 about the portfolio, and he asked her how much did they make on her money. And he said, well, this year we made 5%. Great. Then he asked her the question, what did the S&P 500 do that year? Well, 32%. Oh, by the way, how much did you charge her to get the 5%? Well, it was only $28,000 in commissions. So basically, Denny sat down with her and taught her dividend investing. It's not that hard. It's not that hard. And she likes to, get dividends somewhere between 3 to 4.5%, 5%. I explain all that stuff in the book. So anyway, now the big lie is retirement. I mean, what's interesting, 401ks is just a way for people to get ripped off. And now I say, if you're working with a company that will match your money, match the money, put in the S&P 500 and don't think about it. Okay, that's fine. And at least you're getting 100% return on your money just by them matching the money. Okay, if you have your own company and you have a 401k, my recommendation is you give your employees what you would give in their 401k, those that wanted to match it, and tell them put in a Roth IRA through Schwab and just close the plan down, because there's a couple of reasons. Well, for example, when you look at this book, it's kind of interesting. What he says is that if you have a Roth or an IRA, regular IRA, you get to, basically they give you like $1,800 that you didn't have to pay in taxes, because if you would have, on $6,000, you would have paid $1,800 in taxes. So because of that, over the period of time, total loan, that basically represents like $63,000 they gave you. But in return, the government gets paid back $760,000 in taxes because you decided to be with them. That's a little interesting idea. My recommendation is that if you want an IRA, do a Roth IRA. If you have a 401k, I'd move it over into an IRA through Schwab. I'd pay the tax and make it a Roth. And then from then on, whatever it grows is tax-free. Okay? So problem is tax deferred. It does not eliminate taxes. You can pay it now And basically, and we know that taxes are always going to get lower, right? Okay,
It's possible. Yeah.
not a chance in hell. You can lose 50 to 70% of return just with those 2 to 3% fee, because when you're in a 401k, they just keep taking the money, especially in a mutual fund. You cannot take the money out without penalty. This one great thing about, our personal bank with whole life insurance is that what's great about that is that we can take money out in the process, and it still grows tax free. It's a great deal. You must, if you do take it out, you have to take it out at 72. If you don't, there's a large penalty of doing it. You can't write off losses in a 401k. The government can change the rules at any time, which they have in the, especially in the Roth IRA. As an owner, you have to pay the fees and expenses for all your employees. I rather just, what I'm doing with my employees, I've told them that if you open an account and a Roth IRA, I'll give you $1,000 to start it. And I will match your money up to, for it. If you want to add more money to your Roth IRA that year, I'll kind of match the money that you add to it. So basically, they'll probably be putting in like $2,500. I'll probably put $3,500 in. Okay. But basically, I want everyone to have a Roth and teach them. Then I'm going to teach them how to do dividend investing, so they understand that. So that was pretty much my show.
Much appreciated. Thank you for going through that.
So the thing is that we need to educate ourselves and learn how to do these things ourselves. And it's not that hard. Mm-hmm. If my 10-year-old or my 13-year-old grandchild can do dividend investing just by basically looking at the dividend aristocrats, and I explained how to look at them when they're undervalued, because you only want to buy great companies, like Warren Buffett says, when they're undervalued. And you can look at that by looking at their 52-week highs. And you can look at companies that have been paying dividends for over 25 years, consistently increasing dividends during that time. And in the book, I show you all those companies that you can kind of look at. That's a no-brainer.
No, I mean, my biggest observation, just as you went through that, is with dividend paying stocks, don't be focused on the balance at all. If you're interested in it, it's really just a play of here's money I'm going to add, and it's an income play where I've got the increasing income over time. If I don't need all of it, I can have it reinvested to purchase more. Maybe I need it or want it later. But in the event of a 2008, if I lose value, my income will not be cut in half. So
the income even goes up.
Yeah.
And the good news is you're able to reinvest that money from the dividends while you have a job. Nice. You just reinvest it. It's like a rocket booster. I mean, it's interesting. Like, how come Denny was able to get 5 times as much? Because he reinvested his dividends. Mm-hmm. And he lived off some of those dividends, by the way, but he reinvested. I mean, and another thing, you never have to sell stock. Now, basically, a lot of people will basically go, they have this amount of money, they work with a broker, they're not thinking of dividends. Now, you could buy the S&P 500. It has dividends, but it only pays 1.3% in dividends. I want you to get 3.5% to maybe up to 5 or 6%. Now, you don't want to go with companies that are paying even higher than that, because it's questionable how long they'll be around. Yeah. But if you can buy companies that have been increasing dividends for 25 to 60 years, like Coca-Cola has, every year, you don't care where the price is. You just hope the market goes down so that you can buy. And the only time you look at the market is once a month, when you look and see how much dividends do I have in there, and you've added money from your bank account automatically. Now, remember, I would highly recommend you practice with this with maybe $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, just to get the feel of buying 5 to 10 stocks off that, so you get a feel for how to do this while you're paying off debt, because debt is the way. By the way, debt is the devil. I mean, if you didn't know it, but debt is the fastest way. By paying off debt is the fastest way to become wealthy.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. So there's 2 points I want to hit on just from that slide and the entire presentation. Well, let's first hit the one that everyone's going to have questions on, which is debt. When you hear, what about good debt? Or what if I leverage debt to grow my business? For example, I have a line of credit that I've drawn on occasion if I am looking at a big purchase or I see an opportunity. Like when COVID hit, digital ad spend really went down. A lot of people pulled back. So I viewed it as an opportunity to really lean into the marketing. We had increased it right before. Really, what happened is I'm like, all right, should I pull back? Let's leave our foot on the gas for a little bit and see what happens. But what helped me and kind of gave me that just a little bit of peace of mind was I've got this additional funding over here with the line of credit where I can lean into it more, especially where other competitors are backing out. So it lets me absorb more market share that way. So there's times I'll look at debt from a leverage standpoint, and of course I pay it back quickly. But what are your thoughts on that as far as using debt as a means of leverage to try and accelerate?
I agree with that as a business person. But a lot of people you go in debt for personal reasons and
Personal.
like that. And but you just said the magic word. Then until I will pay it back quickly.
Yeah.
That's the secret. So the deal is the idea, a 30-year loan, this is great. I mean, look how much extra money I have to spend and whatever. And they're just taking 2/3 of that money for the bank. I mean, once you understand that, you need to pay off your house and all your other stuff and don't spend any more money, in 5 to 7 years, you will have your freedom.
Yeah.
I mean, and basically you could live on one income and spend the other spouse's income on paying off the house because you're making over 100% return on your money.
Yeah.
And then, by the way, the spouse, she always wants the house paid off because she knows she's going to get it in the divorce. But it's still okay because, they're going to get it anyway. It doesn't matter.
I know what you mean. But overall, with the personal debt, the long-term debt, instead of stretching that out and prolonging it, look at the numbers, see how much the dollar amount. You can look at the rate of return as well, but the dollar amount you're paying to institutions. And that's the bad thing where you look at and say, no, get rid of that first, because that's just going to be a slow drag. You're running for 30 years with cinder blocks on you. So you're going to slow down naturally. Get rid of it, and then you can sprint.
Right. And also, the point is you're making 100% return on your money.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. Mm-hmm. I mean, the first of the 30-year mortgage, the first 17 years is almost 100% interest.
Yeah.
Every month you're paying 100% interest. I mean, I would actually, if I was going to buy a house, I would get a 15-year mortgage. Mm-hmm. It would significantly drop the amount. If you can't afford a 15-year mortgage, you shouldn't really afford that house.
Yeah, I hear you there. No, and I agree with you from a long-term debt standpoint. I mean, there's debt I have when I look at my mortgages, commercial one, they're longer term, but at the same time, when I have excess cash, I pay them down, or that's the intent. Just I leverage it for business more than anything else. And then with the personal debt, the long term is the thing that you don't like, because and this is for anyone who might be new at business, a big struggle of mine in the beginning when I was getting things going is I didn't have any money, and I was really struggling. And how I survived was with credit cards. So I ran up a lot of debt trying to just keep my head above water, as underwater. But that did buy me enough time just to really learn as the years passed. As I earned $5,500 in the first year, $8,000 the second year. Keep in mind, I said year there. But the credit cards is what helped me in the beginning. And it was debt, which I had to pay more interest. But at the same time, that's just call it a flotation device until I could make it.
Well, I was just looking at the other, my credit cards, which I always pay off. And it said, the interest, and I have good credit. So it's only 20% if you borrow from it. If you borrow money from it, it's like 25%. But that's all right. If you can pay it off in a year, you're only paying 20%. That's great. But if you did it over 30 years, it would probably be close to 2,000%. So the point is if sometimes we have to use debt to get the things we want to come up. Now, another thing about the personal bank, which I kind of like, is that when the market dropped in March 2020 in half, I could easily have gone into my personal bank and borrowed, maybe $1 million and just jump in, because I feel very comfortable knowing that I'm buying great companies that have been paying dividends for a long time, so they're very strong.
Got
The
it.
only time you get out of one of these companies if they cut dividends or stop paying dividends, and then you know that the company may have trouble. Fortunately, the companies that are these blue chips that have been around a long time that have always increased dividends are not the ones that rarely ever cut dividends.
Got it. I understand. Okay. Thank you for covering that. The other point I wanted to hit on, we mentioned being a slow learner. I am too, but not the fact that you're slow. I don't think you're slow. It's more so just taking the time. You mentioned taking the time to understand how it works with dividend paying stocks. Maybe
Yes.
it's debt and how much interest you're actually paying. Maybe it's cash value life insurance. When we first connected, you had a lot of questions on that. And on our last podcast, I mentioned this. I thought you were an agent from the questions you were asking. And you weren't, obviously. But you had a lot of detailed questions because you're trying to grasp an understanding on how does the product work and really how do I generate more cash value? That's what the main point of interest is. And that's what most people we work with, what their interest is. But taking the time to learn for ourselves or have a good enough understanding where if someone asks me, how does your whole life insurance policy work? Can I explain it with confidence and accurately in 30 to 60 seconds?
Yes.
If not, if I stumble over my own words, if it takes longer, that's where, me personally, I would look at the situation and say, okay, I cannot articulate this. So either A, I do understand it, I just need to practice communicating it so I can make it sound like I actually know what I'm talking about, or B, I don't get it. And when I try and explain it, I question, is what I said just really true? Like what I just said, is that really true? Or is it not accurate? Then I have to go back into it, dig into everything and really learn it. So it's just really taking the time, putting the work in, which a lot of people don't do as much, not as much as they used to. But that is where I see a huge difference just when I look at character of individuals versus those that take the time to read and research and those that don't.
Well, the thing is in my book, just the one I did in May last year, the one you can download for free. Basically, I cover a whole chapter on understanding the personal bank. And if they read that, they should be able to figure. I mean, I try to clarify all the questions I had with it in that book.
Got it.
I want people, if they are selling, the personal bank or high cash whole life insurance, understand that it is a great way to leave legacy. I mean, when you start building up assets, especially once you become debt free, I mean, it becomes exponential, the money that you'll have out there. So as you get a little older and you want to get rid of this money, well, basically you have 15,000 each that you and your spouse have that you can basically either create a personal bank or create, a standard Schwab account and show them, your children, how you pass. And this is the way of passing on wealth. And more importantly, it's the knowledge you're passing on. Yeah. That's probably more important than the money you give them. If you could show them how to use dividend investing or show them how to create a personal bank. I personally do a personal bank on each one of my children. And I have 4 daughters, so I love this part. I have it on their husbands, and my daughters are the only ones that have access to the cash value plus to get the death benefit. So it works out pretty good. And so they don't have the code to the cash value, the husband. So it's worked out pretty good. So it's a nice way to transfer wealth, but also they can borrow from the money. They have other debts like to pay down the house. As this builds up over time, as the more money goes in there, they can borrow a lot more. And then instead of paying extra to the house, they're paying extra to the cash, the whole life insurance policy, which is earning money at the same time. It's not like their house is earning money at the same time. Mm-hmm. So in a way, I mean, I have most of, like I said, almost all my children are pretty much debt free, except one that's basically, I think they have about 160,000 or 130,000. And with this next payment, they'll probably be able to borrow 70,000 or 100,000 and pay off toward the
all of it. Yeah, just about all of it. Yeah.
All of it. And then they'll just pay the bank back while they're earning money. So it's like you don't even have to borrow money.
Hmm.
you know, it brings
Yeah.
up.
With access to capital there. Yeah. Well, no, thanks so much for going into that. There's a lot more I can interject, just some of the points like paying for knowledge or getting the knowledge as far as that being passed down. I mean, when I see someone with a ton of knowledge, I would pay to be around them just to absorb what they have in their mind because that's really where the value is and how you can accelerate time as far as your personal growth, whether it's business, personal, whatever it might be. But thank
Just
you.
a
Yeah.
reminder that
Yeah.
there are a lot of, I mean, I'm only 77. I mean, I can do this for another 20 or 30 years. That's it. But the point is that there are a lot of senior people out there that have had businesses that have done really well and are really willing to, you know, mentor younger people. You
Yeah.
know, younger. I mean that's they know that's a legacy, and a lot of people just ignore them, especially ones that have done well, and create a relationship with that person or whatever, and they'd be glad to just share some other ideas with you. Another thing that I want to remind you is that everything bad is good. I mean, it's interesting because when I go into an office and I look at an office, I mean, I want to look for bad things because I can fix them.
Yeah.
If everything's great, then it's hard to fix something. So anything that is that you find is bad gives you an opportunity to fix things. Another thing too, nothing will come into your life that's negative that isn't a gift to you.
Mhm.
If you see that as a gift, I mean, it might be, oh, I got fired here or something. No, it's a gift because it allows you. I mean, the universe is just giving you something that you need to learn from. And I used to fight that. I used to get angry at it. But if you, let me just tell you the secret of happiness. It's basically three choices you have. Number one, if something bothers you, you're in a business that's not working, or you're in a relationship that just, someone's judgmental and critical of you all the time, you can change it. You can talk to the person. I choose not to be judged or being criticized. If not, I'm not here. And, oh, I didn't know it bothered you. Well, I'm going to change. Okay. So you can change something, or you can change something at work. Okay. The second thing is that the other choice is you can always leave it. So if it's not working and someone wants to be judgmental, critical, you say, no, I'm out of here. And as soon as you made that decision, you're at peace. Okay.
Yeah.
Because now the third choice is what we have to make all the time. And what amazes me, it's hard for people to make that choice. Now in the Army, I was in for 20 years. I couldn't actually leave it. I mean, I go to prison, I guess I could leave. But the point is that there will be things that come in your life. If you can't change it, or you don't want to change it, and you don't want to leave it, then the third choice is accept the unacceptable. Because the only person that makes you upset about anything is you. Why do you choose to be upset of something you don't want to leave, or you can't change, or you don't want to change? So I can be totally at peace in my whole life. So I challenge each of you, when something upsets you or you're angry, you ask yourself three questions. Can I change this? I can leave it and do something different. Or if I have those, I don't want to leave it, I don't want to change it, or I can't change it, then I want you just be totally happy with that idiot boss you're working with, and just see how beautiful that idiot boss is. Because I love everything else about that except that person.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty much at peace throughout my whole life, and it's just a better way to be. Oh, by the way, don't stop listening to news. It's a waste. Okay, it just makes you upset. I turned off all my news, and it's just easier.
Gotcha. Thank you for the delightful tips on life, Ace. I appreciate it. As always.
Hey, secret to happiness.
Right on. I do appreciate your time. Thank you very much. This was a lot of fun. I'm sure people got a lot of gems out of it. Thank you so much. Anything else you wanted to add before we wrap up today?
No, I highly recommend you read those books on dividend investing that I mentioned here, and you can go back and look at it. Also, I mentioned that I do go to my website, drace.com, read my book.
Yeah,
drace.com. And then and kind of listen to the deal. If someone wasn't here, like your spouse, that you wanted to teach about getting out of debt and why we're going to pay off debt, then I have some videos up there. They're very short. You can kind of look at that.
Got it.
Other than that, it's been fun.
Thank you so much, my friend. Yes, it has been a lot of fun. We've got links to your website below, And until next time, my friend, we'll talk to you
Good.
soon.
Enjoy.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Enjoy.
for your invitation. Bye.
Thanks. Bye. Hey guys, Steve Parisi here. If you enjoyed the content you just saw, please subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell for future videos. If you'd like more information or to see some custom policies for yourself, feel free to call or email our offices at the contact information below.